Welcome back to Movement is a Lifestyle, where we promote the ethos that movement is a lifestyle, not just an activity. We interview a variety of people who practice that same ethos to hopefully provide people with either motivation or information about why they should treat movement as a lifestyle and not just a workout or something they do occasionally. Today we are back with Kelly Kuhn, who is a physical therapist with Kelly Kuhn Physical Therapy, a solo practice who does some virtual, which we'll talk about briefly. But Kelly has done some additional training and is now also, correct me if I'm not using the correct terminology, but certified as a health coach.
That is correct, yes.
So you are a solo practitioner as a physical therapist, and you do, what's the correct term that we're now allowed to use where people call you virtually, or you do things with cameras, etc.?
I'm still calling it telehealth.
Telehealth.
I know there's lots of different terminologies, but I've stuck with telehealth or telemedicine, but telehealth's probably the easiest. So.
And I know I'm probably dating myself, and around 2000, the American Physical Therapy Association came out with their goals for 2010, and then somewhere around 2010 or 11, they came out with their goals for 2020. I don't know if they've come out with goals for 2030, but I know one of the goals for 2020, to paraphrase it, was they wanted people to visit a physical therapist ideally each year, not for injuries, but to evaluate their risk factors, whether it was balance problems, lack of strength, or mobility issues. I'm curious if that was related to why you made the decision to get some additional training and additional education for health coaching. And then I want to talk some more about what health coaching is and what the training is involved and why you did it.
Okay, so, well, health coaching, it's a natural progression for a lot of healthcare practitioners right now. And so the goal of that statement was to start thinking more about preventative medicine, to think ahead and stop waiting for people to be sick to get treated. And along those lines, we also started to switch away from the biomechanical model or the expert model of healthcare, where we looked at if a knee injury was just an issue with a tissue, like there had to be damage, there had to be a problem, or any kind of illness for that matter. We try to see like a specific cause and a specific fix, and we know that model wasn't working. And we shift to the biopsychosocial model, where we started to look at people as people. And an illness or an injury is very complex. It's never so easy as, okay, well, you just did this tissue's damaged, we got to fix it this way. It just doesn't work that way. And also having people see practitioners who are considered experts all the time. And we do need experts. We need people to be able to tell us what's wrong, to diagnose. But what we found, what was happening when patients went to somebody and they were in the expert model, they go to that person, they were told what to do, the person didn't take that expert doesn't necessarily take them into account. So then the patient or client failed to make the change. They weren't able to carry out the treatment plan that was assigned to them because their lifestyle, their needs, their specific person wasn't taken into account. And so we've seen that a lot of our interventions fail because we miss that whole side of the person. So that's exactly what health coaching is we're now taking, you'll go to your doctor, or you may even go to a PT. In that model, when I'm working specifically as a PT, I'd be more on the expert side of things, but then shifting over to a coach where the client is now, they're in charge, and I'm just guiding them through to try to figure out how they can best figure out how to make that behavior change. They're in charge. We're thinking about them as a person, their needs, their values, and strategies that will work for them, but it's led by the patient, and the research has shown this gives us better outcomes. And so a health coach would never be working on their own. They're generally working as part of a team. So we're seeing health coaches going into doctors' offices now, being hired at the doctor's office. The doctor may say, we need to make this change. Sometimes it's something as simple as getting them to take medication. You'd go over to see the health coach, and then you'd work with them to figure out the strategy to, hey, remember to take your medication. That's the idea behind health coaching.
And I would think, although it's not called health coaching, there are some health professionals who already do this. I know my physician that I see yearly for physicals, one of the conversations we've had a number of times just casually and partly with my treatment is he doesn't tell you what to do. Mm-hmm. He gives you the information, he gives you the pros and the cons of things, and he doesn't say you decide, but he makes it very clear. Mm-hmm. I would think that's not possible if you're seeing a physician or a physical therapist who's working in a large setting where they have to see, I know for some physical therapists, 25 patients a day.
Right.
So as somebody who works in a solo practice as a physical therapist, did you do this to kind of wear an additional hat, or to help what you do with physical therapy so that you're not like, okay, you're done with your injury, you're fully rehabbed, go on, I'll see you the next time you get hurt?
I was kind of already doing this. So one of the main tenets is motivational interviewing. So where you're really interviewing the patient to try to help them. And I had been learning about motivational interviewing for a very long time, and that's kind of where I ended up transitioning into health coaching. So it was initially done to help my practice to. I'm going to continue to be a PT. I'm going to continue to work with runners to kind of make my treatment protocol more effective. I don't know, I ask any PT, we've done it, we said, hey, you're supposed to do this exercise. They come back in, did you do your exercises? No. So the idea was, why do I keep doing that? Why do I keep beating my head against the wall telling people to do exercises and they're not doing it? Is there a better way to get to people, to work with them, and to work with the whole person? And where I'm asking them to make a behavior change. And so behavior change is hard. So I wanted to learn more how to help people do that, how to get to the root of it. And so that was my intent, was just to stay with that. And I am, as of right now, just doing that. And I think I'll always continue to do that. I love working with the runners. But it did open a few doors that I found so fascinating, so interesting. So I am working on continuing towards my full board certification in health coaching. And I could see myself taking some different steps and working with different types of clients at that time.
I know one of the interesting things, fun things, sad things, whatever adjective you want to use about social media, is everybody likes to put a title or something under their name. You know, if they have a doctorate, we're Dr. So-and-so. Coach is this term that is very ambiguous. You know, if you're coaching a football team or a basketball team, it's pretty easy to say that's Coach Kelly.
Right.
On the other hand, you know, there's health coach, there's lifestyle coach, there's wellness coach, there's performance coach, etc. What exactly is the training for the health coach? And you mentioned full board certification, which I know there are some people that all of a sudden you look at their bio on Instagram or Facebook and they're a coach.
Right.
Is health coach a licensed or a specific term that you have to have specific training and registration for, like physical therapy, or is it more ambiguous, but there are certain organizations that oversee it? For if you see those organizations, you know, okay, that person's legit.
Yes. So it is, the term kind of popped up. It's crazy. It's being used in a lot of different places. So for example, a lot of diet plans will just have people who they call coaches or call them health coaches, and they're just trained for their diet plan basically to sell you the diet plan. That is not the same thing as a certified health coach. I think that a lot of lifestyle coaches, same thing. There's similar things, similar ideas, and there's different, you know, probably people who are calling themselves that, and then there's people who have the certification, but I don't know as much about the lifestyle coach. On the health coach side of things, I did go through training, and it really is almost a training in psychology. Like the difference is they say, like, you know, it's not psychology. Psychology is looking back, you're diagnosing, it's an expert model. A health coach is helping someone look at the psychology of health and make change for the future. So psychology goes backwards, health coaching goes forward. And the training is all about that. And so I went there. It is actually becoming a degree in college. So you're seeing it pop up in certain schools. And then there's lots of different training programs. I went through ACE because it's one of the only accredited health coaching training programs, and it's one of the few that allows me then to continue on with a few other courses and then sit for the national board exam.
And ACE is the American College of Exercise?
American Council on Exercise.
Council on Exercise.
So in order to sit for that board exam, you do have to have, there's other prerequisites. You can't just take the courses. You do have to, like I have the other degrees because I'm a physical therapist that allows me to go that way. So you're looking for somebody who does have a certification like that from an accredited agency, and then especially someone who goes on to become a board certified. I believe, just like in PT, PT is a license, which is a little different, but I went through college and then I sat for my licensure exam. I think what's going to happen is it's going to become a degree. You're going to go through these training programs, and then the board certification will be standardized. It's just a new term, but everybody took the term. Everybody took the term coach. So now we have this problem where we have certified health coaches and like diet plans, or people who are just like, hey, I'm going to coach you today, So the idea behind coaching is that you're guiding people, you're not an expert, you're kind of letting them lead and you're working with them to develop your plan. But there is a specific training protocol for true health coaches. And so it does get confusing, and I think that's something that will need to be worked out in the future, but that's how, when new things pop up, that's how they are.
I know, having worked under under a physical therapist in clinics, your comments on getting patients to do exercises rings true. I'm thinking of a friend of mine who is an endurance coach who prescribed a specific form of running for his athlete, which was 20-minute segments at a specific intensity. And she did all of her programming except for these 20-minute segments. And he once asked her, he said, well, why aren't you doing these? She goes, I just can't go 20 minutes, it's too long. So he was able to say, well, we'll just break it up into 10 minutes. So from a performance standpoint, or from a rehabilitation standpoint, I can see what you're saying. What are some other examples, or how would people approach using a health coach for other than coming to see a physical therapist or working with a performance coach who maybe has an additional certification as a health coach, and that helps their original coaching?
So you're saying, like, what other types of clients could be helped for health coaching?
Yeah, somebody comes to see you. They don't come to see Kelly Kuhn, the physical therapist. They come to see Kelly Kuhn, the certified health coach.
Okay, so health coaching could be anyone who is looking to lower blood pressure, who was looking to, and to make a lifestyle change, right? So you're learning strategies. You've gone to the doctor, and the doctor says you have to do these things to lower your blood pressure. It might be weight loss, although weight loss is not the best. When weight loss isn't always the easiest thing to do, and sometimes when that's the only goal, it becomes problematic. So sometimes a health coach might actually help them find different motivation, such as, well, do you want to feel better? What are your values? What is it that you really want to achieve from the weight loss, and focus on that versus just the weight loss, because that can be really complicated. It might be for health coaches might help people with drug addiction. They might help people with diabetes. You might do grocery store tours to help people understand, to help people learn skills that we don't realize they don't have, like, some people don't even realize, like, how a grocery store is set up or how to read a label. We would never give a specific diet plan. That would be something the dietitian would do. We might work with somebody who's having a hard time fitting exercise into their life. How can we take this exercise program and fit it in? If I'm just in health coach mode, I wouldn't be able to prescribe exercises. I can, because I'm a physical therapist and a strength and conditioning specialist, but another health coach might not do that. They might work with a personal trainer who's giving you exercises, and okay, how do I fit this in my life? They might work with somebody who's having a hard time with stress, so any aspect of healthcare that you're trying to make a change and improve in, and you've been told you need to do it, or you feel you need to do it, but you don't know how to do it. And so the idea is, how do we take this change that needs to be done and make it work for you? Instead of saying, well, that's an excuse, you don't do it. The idea is to listen to the client and say, well, that's not an excuse, that's a barrier to change, and that is their perception, and that perception for them is reality. So just telling them that's an excuse isn't going to work. We have to hear why they're not making the change, try to get to what will motivate them intrinsically to make the change. And getting them to see why they should make a change. So we have to make sure take them through the stages of change. So there's specific stages, and make sure they're actually in the stage where they're ready to change. And if not, our goal is to get them to that stage. And then once they're ready to change, is to help them figure out the strategies, set goals, find ways to be accountable. But the main thing is, every step, every action is chosen by the client. They're not told what to do, they choose what to do. And you're guiding them to help them figure out which is, where they want to start, what choice they want to make. Baby steps, one step at a time, but they're in charge, they're in control, they're running the show, and then it becomes more powerful to them. You build on their successes instead of feeling like, okay, well, no, you have to do this, and if you don't do this, it's an excuse, and then they feel like they fail, and when people fail, they quit. So it's just more of the psychology of getting them to make change.
It sounds like, for many, do you call clients that you work with? Is that the terminology?
Yes.
It sounds like it could be a situation where it may be 2 steps forward and 1 step back, because they're telling you, this is what I want to do, this is why, and then 3 months down the line, they may realize, oh, that's not really what I want.
Right, and that's all part of the process, is planning for that. So you're in your first session, you're actually planning for these barriers to come up, for regressions to come up. You're trying to help them realize that that's okay. One of the big things we'll work on is something called cognitive distortions, which are these beliefs about healthcare. And one of the big ones is all or nothing. Like, I ate that piece of pizza, so my diet's gone, so I quit, right? So seeing, no, you ate that pizza, it's okay, keep going, so getting people to realize how the stories we tell ourselves about health and fitness and about diet and about nutrition, about exercise and all of it, how that impacts our behavior. And so when we can talk back to that and change the way we think about things, we actually can change our behavior better. So knowing ahead of time, like, hey, you're going to hit a roadblock down the road, but what you do when you hit the roadblock, how you think about it, will help you say, okay, go around it or go back. And if you do go back, okay, what success did you have in that process? Or what did you learn from that failure that's going to help you continue forward, versus saying you failed, give up, quit. And so it's things like that that make this, the idea is to help people make longer lasting behavior change, and accepting that change is hard,
When somebody works with a health coach, and I think I know the answer, but I'm going to let you say it, what's the timeline? Is this a one visit? Is this like physical therapy, where even though you're probably paying out of pocket, you may say 12 visits and you're off on your own, or does it depend?
Yeah, I think it depends. I think it's probably standard is definitely a few months. It really depends. It depends too. Like, somebody might come to you and because the doctor told them to come to you, and they're not ready to change. Well, then the visit's over, and you might just give them some information to get them thinking about. Like, sometimes they don't realize they need to change, so they might just go home and think about, well, maybe I do, or even getting to think about why they need change. So you might not continue with them because they may not be ready to change. Once you start to change, again, it depends. It depends on how long they go. But generally, you're going to go for a few months because you want to be able to check in with them to make sure that that's a system of accountability, right? And so that like by having the coach there, they are accountable to us, but the goal is to make them accountable to themselves. So it's just a chance of like helping them put those systems in place for social support, accountability, things like that. And sometimes if you drop out too soon, then they don't have that person to check in. But it is, like anything else, I think it's very, very, individualized. You go for what you need, but you would think it's probably a 3-month thing. It is not meant to be a lifetime thing. You're not supposed to see them forever. The goal is to, get them there on their own, like all healthcare should be. The timeline for that can be different, but it's the goal is independence.
I know one of the questions a lot of people ask when they're asked to do something with their health is, well, does my insurance cover it? Does insurance cover health coaches yet, or is that coming maybe?
It's there. So I think that's why you're seeing health coaches. Last I saw, so there was postings at almost every AHN doctor's office, because insurances are now covering it because it has proven to lower healthcare costs. And so a lot of other countries have gone to this model well before us, and we're way behind when it comes to healthcare. And so going to the counseling or health coaching model has shown to lower healthcare costs. So insurance companies love lower healthcare costs. So it is now not everywhere, not every plan, but it is starting to become covered.
I'm not going to imply that you're as old as me, but you have practiced as a physical therapist for a while, and you probably remember early in your practice with physical therapy, one of the standards of treatment was hot pack beforehand, ultrasound in the middle, and we'll finish up when you've done maybe your 3 sets of 10 leg raises with an ice bag. And now it's unusual in most physical therapy practices for them to even have ice bags. What's the input that you've seen, or what's the feedback you've seen from healthcare professionals, both that you know personally just as friends from your career, and also professionally when you talk about health coaching? Are most of them open to it, or is it kind of a work in progress?
It's a work in progress. I'd say in the PT world, it's pretty common. A lot of us are going this way. You're seeing more and more physical therapists that are moving over towards the health coaching. I think all of us we've known for a long time that our system is failing. It's not working. We've known that, it doesn't take you a long time in a PT clinic to sit here and say, patients don't follow instructions, And so, but we always blame the patients. And at some point it was time for us to look at ourselves and say, well, we keep giving them these exercises knowing they're not going to do it, and blame them. What are we doing wrong? And so some people are still like, well, they just don't do it. It's their fault, But I think a lot of us are coming around saying, you know what, we have to look at what we're doing. We're missing something there that's keeping people from doing what they need to do. I mean, how many times has people gone into doctor's office and they say, well, lose weight? and then they don't do it. So what are we doing that we're missing that they aren't doing? That's our job, and we should be doing that. And I think we all know we need preventative medicine. We all know that we need to make these changes in our healthcare, in our lifestyle. We all know that there needs to be a shift towards looking at the whole person, the mental health, the exercise, the diet, not just handing pills and surgeries for things. And so we all know this, but some people are getting the idea that, hey, there's something I can do to help actually bring that to my practice. And other people are still, well, it's not my fault. You can lead a horse to water, and, and my eyes were really open taking this course at the idea of the psychology behind it, the theories behind it. It really is supported, the research behind it. There's a lot more that we can do as practitioners. And I'd say it's probably 50-50. Some people are just like, nah, that's, it's too new, too weird, and other people are like, yeah, this makes sense, we should do it. Yeah.
I know one of the things that's fairly common for certified athletic trainers and physical therapists is to get additional certifications. The NSCA strength and conditioning specialist is common. Do you foresee with this something in the healthcare that more and more healthcare professionals start looking at health coaching certifications kind of as an adjunct or an additional certification, not only to make them more employable, where somebody's looking at it and say, oh, Kelly's a physical therapist and she's a health coach, but also because you don't have to go home and yell at your husband or your wife because your patients didn't do their exercises?
Yes, I think there's a huge frustration in healthcare. So I think a lot of healthcare practitioners are moving this way because it gives them a chance to work in a different model. The model we're in now, where we're supposed to see a patient every 15 minutes, and you're supposed to, well, that's for PT, but I know nurses and doctors and everybody else, they're seeing just tons of patients. The numbers, it's too high, and there's this feeling of like, we're not doing enough. We can't get our interventions across because we don't have time. We're seeing patients flounder, we're seeing them struggle, and we're looking. So it's not just that we're tired, we're burned out, we're also frustrated because we can't get the healthcare we want and we know we can do across. And so health coaching is another avenue, another place to do that. I think that we're seeing a lot of people who are just tired, burnt out, frustrated, fed up, making this change, yes.
I'm curious, you've got young girls, you've worked with older patients. Is there a age limit as far as too young to work with a health coach or too old with a health coach? And is this something, I'm sure you know as a parent, your kids are getting to the age where you tell them something and you tell them something and you tell them something and they never listen. Is this something you can see that health coaches can help with in some instances related to health?
Yes, I think that there's health coaches that are going into schools now. They're bringing them into schools. I think too, I'm involved with coaching sports, and so a big thing is we're seeing kids who are coming out of childhood without physical literacy, so therefore they don't even have the skills needed to make healthy choices. So getting health coaches and these fundamental ideas into schools is a big push from health coaching. Like the idea of getting into high schools and instead of just having PE, having individualized fitness plans. That's a health coaching idea to bring in, to let kids already come out of school having an idea of what fitness would look like for them. Not what it should look like for that Instagram model, what it looks like for you as you move into adulthood. So I think that's a big place where they can help kids. But yes, there are health coaches that specifically work with children. I think that we do a lot wrong when it comes to health in kids, and even as a parent, I do it. And there's a big push to revamp our health education, and I think some health coaches are leading the charge on that.
You mentioned, which I agree with, that the U.S. in a lot of ways is behind on healthcare compared to other countries. And if you talk to people that you know who live in other countries, they'll say, oh, you pay for that, or you can't get in to see this or that. Obviously, we have some advantages too. Do you see with health coaching that this is something that beyond physical therapists, this is something that, maybe it becomes a requirement if you're going to be a high school coach or a high school teacher or a college professor, that this may be something that people will start pushing for? Because, if you're a coach or a teacher, you may be spending more time with the child or the young adult every day compared to the parents who are working and then seeing them for 2 or 3 hours at night and an hour or so in the morning.
I mean, I do think, so I've been elected or appointed to the rec board at my community, and that is one thing that I'm trying to bring to the area, not necessarily health coaching, but coach training. And so the idea that, yes, when we have adults who are in charge of kids who are now going to sports, which is the main area we learn physical literacy, these coaches need to know some of these tenets. They need to understand the one, sports skill development, which is something that I understand and have learned and worked with, and then how that happens and how we're coaching it is actually counterintuitive to building physical literacy. So I do think coaches need to be trained there, and I think I don't know that everybody needs to become a health coach, but some of the tenets are getting some of these tenets and these ideas to the people who are working with our kids and working, exactly spending time with them can be really beneficial to creating health down the line, because we are headed the wrong way with our youth. The health of the generation of this generation of kids is really suffering. They're dropping out of sports, they're not exercising, they don't have the tools, the skills, the physical literacy that we got naturally as kids playing in the neighborhood. And so yes, the adults that are around them need to be aware of this and have the tools to teach it.
I'm curious, I really didn't touch on this. How did you first learn about health coaching and say, hey, this is something I want to use to further my career?
I think it was, working in the running world, it was a lot. It started to talk about coaching runners and motivational interviewing. I don't remember exactly where I picked it up, but the idea of, instead of just walking in and telling the patient what to do, how do we get to know the patient and figure out what makes them tick, what makes them work, how do we structure their plans around there? Plus then the pain science side of things in physical therapy, which is a new thing where there was that switch, the biopsychosocial model. I had been really learning about both of those things for a very long time. And then somewhere along the line, I saw another PT who had become a health coach, so I started looking into it, and it melded both of those things so perfectly. And it was just exactly what I was already doing somewhat intuitively in my practice and what I already believed, and now here was a certification that just fit right in with it.
And I think it's been less than a year since you've gotten your certification.
Yes.
I'm curious, looking back, say at Kelly Kuhn Physical Therapist 3 years ago versus Kelly Kuhn Physical Therapist now in 2022, what are one or two things that you think that you've changed about how you work with patients to make them more successful that maybe 3 years ago you didn't have the training, or you thought, well, this might work, but I don't know why it works?
Number one is I talk less. So I still spend the same amount of time talking with patients. They talk more, I talk less. So one of the most important aspects of that is that it is open-ended questions. So we're open-ended questions, letting them talk, letting them tell their story. Less of me telling them what to do, more of me asking them what they think, what they know, what they feel. Yes, there's times when I do give them advice or answer questions, but I am listening a lot more. That's probably the biggest change that has come from that. And two, I think it's helped me to be more empathetic. Instead of, like we said, sometimes you'd get frustrated, why don't they just do their exercise? And now I can get it. Hey, I'm a mom, I have kids, I don't always exercise. Sometimes I'm tired. I don't follow every piece of advice. Why would I expect my patients to be perfect when I can't be perfect? We're flawed, it's hard, things are hard. And so when I approach it that way and I understand and I hear their story, it's easier to help guide them to better health.
We've been talking with Kelly Kuhn. She is a physical therapist and a health coach. I think it's kind of interesting, we're on a show that we're talking. You said one of the things you learned was to talk less. But I think what's also interesting is the fact that you ask patients more open-ended questions. I know a lot of people say, well, I saw the doctor and they spent 30 seconds with me or 2 minutes with me, which with our healthcare model they have to. But sometimes just the talking can relieve or allow you to identify a pre-existing problem or something that is outside of what they thought they were coming to you for. So Kelly, thanks for taking time for educating us about what a health coach is and what to look for if somebody's calling themselves a health coach.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.